Muted.
All right, welcome Samsung Developer Program members to Gear S3 Web App Development webinar. Before we start, a few housekeeping items. So we have one-way audio only in this webinar. So if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat window to post any questions. We will structure the presentation so that first we will cover, just to give an overview, how we can help you during your journey of creating a content for Gear S3. Then we'll present a few slides about the market, and then we will walk through how to create the standalone application, a few slides, an example app, and we'll look at the Tizen Studio, how to import the project. And so anytime during the session you can post a question in the chat box, and we will then answer your questions after those sections of the presentations, and at the end we will do also a quick Q&A. If you have if there's some technical issues, kind of feel free to reach the Samsung host. If for some reason you are not hearing us or you're not seeing the slides, and we have this is our first webinar, so there might be some issues, and let us know how we can improve the webinar moving forward. We will be doing a number of webinars early 2017, and the survey at the end. All right, Gear S3 Web App Development Webinar. My name is Niklas Laibek. I'm here with Kavita Gopalan. We are part of Samsung Developer Program, or part of Samsung Electronics America. We are in Silicon Valley, California. So, few words how we can help you. So, we we support Samsung technologies like Samsung Android SDK. So for example, if you are creating a S Pen enabled application for Samsung Note category devices. We support that technology. If you are creating an Edge panel for Galaxy Edge devices, we support that as well, and any other Samsung Android SDKs. On Tizen, we support Samsung Wearable SDK and those projects. Two tools for designers, Watch Face Editor and Theme Editor as well. And of course, with any Android application, Tizen application, or a watch face or a theme, you need to submit them in the store and get them promoted. So naturally, we'll support any questions regarding submission and promotion. The best way that you can reach us is to join the Samsung Developer Program, which is a free program, and you have access to a ticket-based system, and that's the best way that you can reach us. We have also a general inquiry email address that you can see on the slide, and my email address as well. If you have some feedback, some ideas, or you need something urgently needs to be escalated, you can contact me as well. So, a few words about the upcoming webinar. So we have defined it so that we have a number of webinars covering the Gear S2 and Gear S3 platform. The next session we will have on January 10th, and that is a different webinar for developers, but we thought that it will make sense. So we have invited the product manager, David Ding, to give a product overview of Gear S3. So this is not really a developer webinar. It's more or less an overview of what are the features, what's the portfolio of Samsung smartwatches, and it's basically a fantastic overview. It will be a fantastic overview of the product, watch faces, apps, and widgets. Later in the first quarter next year, we'll do 2 sessions about watch face development. The first one will be about watch face editor, which requires no development skills. And then the second one is then how to create the dynamic watch face, which is more or less relevant for developers, as well as then the widget development as the last one. Additionally, we'll do webinars for Android developers and publishers, so mostly kind of games developers, any application that uses Samsung in-app purchase. So we will do those in first quarter as well as Galaxy phones support themes. It's a very cool new feature, available since Galaxy S6. So we will give an overview of how to create the theme and how to use the theme editor. And if you have some ideas for other webinars, feel free to reach us. So let's dive into Gear S web app development. A few slides about the market, and then we will get our hands dirty in creating the first app. So firstly, a quick overview of the market. So on this slide, the data is provided by Gartner. We can see that the smartwatch is the fastest growing category in the wearable industry. This year in 2016, we can see that some 50 million units are expected to be sold, and we can see that that market is expected to grow to 87 million units by 2020. This is a global forecast. So if you look at the 2017 forecast, it indicates 67 million units would be shipped, and so we can see that they forecast a 32% year-on-year growth between this year and next year. I'll be using that number later in my presentation, so I just wanted to point that out, that you'll see where I took that number. This slide shows an interesting fact that already last holiday market a year ago, more smartwatches were shipped than Switch watches. So that was already a year ago. On this slide, we'll see the overview of Samsung portfolio of smartwatches. So we introduced the first product in the market 2013, then do a few different versions, and 2015 we introduced the device with a circular UI and a very unique way to control the interaction, which is with the bezel. there has been a few different variants of the Gear S2, and last month Gear S3 started to ship. Additionally, there's a Gear Fit, a fit band product that is in a portfolio. We will not cover that product in this webinar. But from your perspective as a developer, really the Gear S2 and the different variants and Gear S3, from your perspective, it is the same product. Basically, this is the platform release, Tizen Wearable 2.3.2 or 2.3.1, and basically it's the addressable market. When you create content, you publish the content available to make it available for both products. Naturally, nothing prevents you to make it also available for some of the previous products, but then you need to change the UI layer. So some key metrics that we thought that would be relevant for you to have access, and when you're doing the business case. So firstly, a few words about the installed base. So Samsung does not provide any internal numbers of how many units we have sold, but I will point out. I'll give you the pointer to an IDC study where you can see that Samsung they expected that Samsung shipped approximately 3 million devices if you combine the last quarter of 2015 and then the first 3 quarters in 2016. And if you then behind a napkin would do a quick math that let's assume that the market is growing based on the previous study, which showed that it's growing 33%. So then that would mean that 33% times this number, that would mean that kind of Gear S3 could probably sell some 4 million devices in the next 12 months. So that would mean that in December 2017, we would have an install base of 3 million plus 4 million. So that's a simple math that behind the napkin to assess that what would be the installed base kind of next holiday. What we can share as a Samsung kind of insight from our system is a few words about who are the users. So already with Gear S2, 80% were male, between their 20s and 40s, and kind of even with Gear S3, which is a even more masculine design, this number will just go up. So I think it makes sense when you're kind of defining what you would be creating. You would do a very you would make something available for that demographic. We can share that consumers are downloading 8+ apps. 80% of the content is watch faces, and a few different good price points for paid content. You can see them on the slide. And then promotion in the staff picks. This is typically 2 weeks at the time, typically globally. And then the criteria that we apply when content is selected and suggested to be promoted, kind of our brand, kind of usability, and how great the experience it is on the device. So if you have created some content or you plan to create the content for Gear S2, you can always with them through the support window send us a note that you have a great content, you have great reviews, and we are happy to consider your application to be proposed to be promoted. And here's the report that I mentioned earlier, the IDC Worldwide Quarterly Variable Device Tracker, where you can get they estimate the numbers for the install base. Today's focus is about web application, but it is possible to create the watch face as well, which is a standard, which is a one-page application. Watch face could naturally be just amazing design and no dynamic content. That's the simplest watch face. It is possible to create the dynamic watch face, like I have here in a few examples, like ESPN and CNN, which shows some dynamic, relevant sports and news information on a watch face. So that's kind of an application, but it's a watch face. You can then use the always-on display for the watch face and an in-app purchase as a feature. So today we'll cover application development, and this is a very typical kind of application consumption model. You go to the application grid, which is circular in the app tray. In case of a Gear S3, you tap on the application icon. Like here, you can see Uber. You launch the application. You interact with the application. Interestingly, I could point out that if you download this experience from the phone, the Uber is a companion application, meaning that you will sign in to the service on your phone, not on the wearable. If you download the NPR1 application, which is a audio kind of podcast streaming application, you will sign in on your phone, but through the website. So it's a bit different experience. I would recommend to, if you have a service that requires sign-in, to download both and explore those two different options. And then you can use the sensors available on the device. And then the widget is a new feature. Web widgets is a new feature introduced in Gear S3 2.3.2 version. And basically, it's when you turn the bezel, you access these glanceable pages where you can see dynamic information. You can interact with the content by tapping it, and that will be kind of a shortcut to launch the application. The widget is embedded within the application, so basically the widget is just a different entry point or a different entry door to launch the application. So a few words about the channel. The channel is Galaxy App Store. So here's a screenshot of what the Gear tab looks on Galaxy App Store. You can, on Samsung devices, you can the Gear Manager and the Galaxy App Store are probably you can find them in the Samsung folder on your Samsung flagship phone. If you have a non-Samsung device, you can download Gear Manager from Google Play and explore what is already in the store. There are 12,000 different content items available, and it's a great way to you to see what's already there. And it's especially handy to tap on the top free and top paid, so you can see that what kind of content consumers are currently consuming. Galaxy App Store is Android. It's also an Android application store, as well as then a store to distribute the Tizen application. It's preloaded globally on some 760 million Samsung phones, and we have 77 million weekly users in this store. All right. Then it's time to, should we take some questions? Do we have any questions? No questions at the moment. Let's keep going. And Kavita.
Okay. Thank you, Nicholas. It was very useful information. Hello, everyone. This is Kavita. I'm going to walk you through the technical aspect of how to create a web app for Gear S3. Before going into the actual coding, I want to give you an example, some of the examples that we have for Gear S3. So the first one is Gear for Nest. As you know, Nest is a thermostat controller, and we have partnered. Our partner has created an application to control the Nest thermostat from your Gear device. It is a web application, and it directly communicates with the Nest device using the Nest APIs. It can, for the real-time connectivity, it uses the WebSocket connection, and it directly interacts with the Nest device to control the temperature and everything. And next one I would like to point out is GoPro Shutup Pro application. It is a web application. It is a standalone application. It directly communicates with the GoPro camera using Wi-Fi. From your Gear app, you can control almost all the features of the GoPro camera, like taking a video, stopping a video, and taking photos, and all the controls are available in the Gear application. The next one I would like to point out is a game application called Stack. It allows the users to stack the shapes one on top of each other, and it is built using Unity. So I just wanted to give you a wide range of applications that are available on Gear S3 right now, so you can get an idea of what is possible, what kind of applications we can create. So next, we can, as you all know, Gear S3 has been newly released, and we have added a lot of new features for developers. First feature to mention is the web widgets. As Nicholas mentioned before, widgets are nothing but an easy way to access the information from your web application. It acts like a face to your application, and you can pump out the real-time data for the users to see. And the web widgets will be displayed in the watch all the time. So, for example, if you want to display the temperature, you can use the widgets. So web widgets is the new feature. So developers can use web APIs to create the web widgets. Previously, it was only available for native APIs. Now we have opened up the web APIs as well. And the next new feature available is speech-to-text APIs. It is nothing but a part of the regular W3C protocol. So you can use those features to convert your speech to text file. And all the Gear S3 devices comes with a built-in GPS chip, and all the models of Gear S3 has speaker as well. So this enables developers to create many standalone applications, and reduces the dependency over the phone. We also have introduced the Gear in-app purchase APIs. So if you want to sell some additional products or additional features of your watch face or your web or native web application, you can use Gear IAP APIs. So this is the Tizen framework architecture. As you can see, it is built on top of the Linux kernel, and on top of the Linux kernel we have the native subsystem. We have all the modules available for telephony, UI, messaging, location, etc. So you can use these native subsystem APIs to build native apps. We also have the framework that we have built on top of the native subsystem to enable the developers to create Gear applications using the web APIs. So as you know, web APIs can be created using JavaScript, CSS, and HTML. For native APIs, you can interact with the subsystem using C or C++. So this is how the basic building and running operation works for web application. It is very similar to your web app that runs on the browser. Each web application has a JavaScript, CSS, the HTML folders, and also has the resource and library folders. And when you run the application, it binds your author and distributor certificate to it and creates a .wgt file, and then it is installed onto your device. So apart from the regular web APIs, we also provide a framework called the TAU framework. It is Tizen Advanced UI Framework, which has a lot of built-in UI components that is readily available for the developers to use in their application. These are some of the UI components that is available in TAU library, which you can use. Some of them to mention are page indicators, circular indicators, pages, pop-ups, buttons, etc. So the TAU library is open source library. You can open it and see the code, and you can keep it as a base and create your custom UI component on top of it. So I would like to mention some of the sensors that are available in Gear S2 and Gear S3. We have GPS chip in all the models of Gear S3. Gear S2 has two versions, Bluetooth version and the 3G version. The Bluetooth version does not have a GPS chip, but all 3G models have GPS chip in it. But still, developers will be able to use the location APIs irrespective of the model of Gear S2, because the platform handles from where it gets the location information from. So if it is a Bluetooth device and it does not have a GPS chip in it, the location API automatically tries to get the location information from the phone that is being connected to your gear. If it is, if you want to get the location information on the Bluetooth, the device must be paired with the phone. And then we have NFC, heart rate sensor, accelerometer, gyro sensor, and ambient light. These are some of the sensors that is good to mention, and I have seen many developers use these sensors and build their applications. So for Gear S3 or Gear S2, you can create two kinds of applications. It can either be a standalone application or a companion application. Standalone, as the name suggests, it's a standalone app and it runs on your gear device. It does not have any dependency on either phone application or anything of the sort. We have seen many standalone applications come up in the recent days because Gear S2 and Gear S3 is always connected to network, either through Wi-Fi or when it is paired with the phone. So companion application has two parts. It has a gear application and it also has an Android application. So the gear and the Android application acts like a companion. So if you have any CPU intensive things to do, you can use the mobile application and then you can send the data to gear to display it. We also have something called Samsung Accessory Protocol, using which you can handle all the socket communication between your gear and the Android app. So once you're done developing your application, you can use Seller Office Portal to sell your application, manage your application, and see your distribution list of distributed devices, promotions and discounts, etc. So Seller Office is the UI portal where you can manage your publication of your application and also update and all kinds of information that you need to publish an app in the Galaxy App Store. Now let's talk about the sample app that we are going to see today. We call it the heart rate monitor sample app. I just want to give you an overview of what this application does, and then I can explain each segment of the code, and then we can try and see how it actually runs on the Tizen IDE. So heart rate monitor sample app shows how to get the heart rate sensor data and display it on the gear device. So the app opens into a main page, and as you can see, there is a start button, and when the user clicks the start button, we are starting the sensor, and we have an image that is displayed on the center of the screen, and the heart rate value is displayed on top of the heart image. We are applying a simple animation for the heart image to mimic the heart rate, beating heart rate. And we also, for some reason, if the watch is not strapped properly or if there is any dust on the sensor, then you will not be able to get the heart rate information. So to handle that scenario, we are having another page called the information page, where we'll be redirecting the user to the information page and asking the user to strap the watch properly and clean the sensor, etc. So the main API to use, the Tizen API to use to get the heart rate sensor is called the Human Activity Monitor API. This API defines the interfaces and methods to manage the human activity data. So it supports 4 kinds of sensors: pedometer, wrist up sensor, heart rate monitor, and GPS. So for the sample app, we are going to use the HRM to get the heart rate information. So we also have privileges that you need to declare in your config.xml file. Config.xml is very similar to your Android manifest file. This is where you declare your app's permission, your app name, icon, etc. So to use any kind of sensors, you have to declare the permission here. For the heart rate, we have to declare the privilege / health info permission. So these are some of the Tau UI components that we have used in the sample app. I have used the page, a bottom button, title, header, footer, and we also use the rotary event. So as you can see, once the start button is tapped, the heart rate sensor is started. We are also displaying a contextual text called measuring because it takes a couple of fraction of a second to receive the data from the sensor. So until then, we are displaying a contextual text called measuring, and heart rate value is displayed on over the heart image, and we are applying an animation to the image. Once the stop button is clicked, we are calling the stop sensor API to stop the sensor. This is the second page, information, which we call it as an information page. So if the watch is not stopped properly, the heart rate sensor may not work. So to provide that information, we are using this info page. It just displays some information to the user to stop the watch or clean the sensor. And if the user clicks the back button, it takes you back to the main page. So let's let's get into detail about the sample app. So to start creating a Tizen application, you can go to Tizen developer.samsung.com/gear, and you'll be able to download the Tizen SDK, and Tizen IDE is part of your SDK. Once you have installed the Tizen SDK, you'll be able to open the Tizen Studio, which is nothing but the IDE. Once you have done that, I also want to show you that you have to install the extension SDK. So this is where you go to download the Tizen SDK. Once you are done installing, so you can there are multiple components in the package manager. You can select Tizen 2.3.2 variable and Tizen 2.3.1 variable. As Nicholas mentioned earlier, before Gear S2 was in the platform called Tizen 2.3.1, and Gear S3 is in Tizen platform 2.3.2. But now recently we have rolled out an update for Gear S2 that will be updating the Gear S2 also to 2.3.2 wearable platform. So you can install these two, and then once you're done with that, we should also install the extension SDK. You need this extension SDK to create your author certificate and distributor certificate. So once you are done, so you should be able, you're ready to create your application. So this is how you create your first application. After opening the Tizen Studio, you can go to File, New Option, Tizen Project, and then for the sample, we are going to use the already existing template, and we are going to create an application for wearable. There are also Tizen mobiles that are available, but it's not available in US. So we are focusing only on wearables here, and you can choose web application because we are going to create a web app, and I'm going to choose the Tau basic template that is available because it loads the Tau components for me automatically. And then you can rename your give a name to your project and click next. And as I mentioned earlier, in the config.xml file, you need to add the health info privilege, and this is how you can add this. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so everybody can see properly. And because we need an heart image here, I'm going to create a folder called images in the root directory and copy paste my heart image into my images directory. And now we have the HTML code. So index.html file is where you define your layout of your application. So as you can see in the body, I have a div called main page. So all this code is for the main page. I'm declaring a header. and I have a div for to display the content, and I have a footer where I'm using the already existing tau component called the UI bottom button. This will create a button at the footer of the page. So within the UI content, we need to create a div for the heart image, and we need to create a div to display the contextual text called measuring, and we also need to create a div to display the heart rate value that is going to be displayed on top of the heart image. And this is the second page, that is the information page that I was talking about. So I created a div for and I gave it an ID called info, and it is very similar to the main page. So I have a header, I have a UI content, and I have a footer button, and I have displayed the text that will be displayed in the information page. And these are this is how you load your script. As you know, app.js is my main JavaScript file where I'm going to implement all the app functionality. So this is how I load the script file, and these two steps should be available by default, because that's how the tau library is loaded. And circle.helper is a helper which loads the circular UI theme for us. So it's good to have the circle.helper.javascript class. And now we have defined the layout. Let's go to the style sheet where I'm going to define the font and the animation. So I'm using the dot operator. So as you know, dot operator is used to call the class that you have defined in your HTML file. So I'm just defining the font size for my class here, and you can use the hash operator to define to call your classes that you have defined in your index.html file. So I'm displaying, all I'm doing is just changing some font and changing the font size and font color, and making sure the image is in the center of the screen, and all the style information. So I'm also defining a show and a hide method, because I need to hide the measuring info and also show the measuring info based on the situation. So I define the show and the hide method, and style for the footer. The main thing to note here is the how to apply the animation. So I'm using the WebKit keyframe, naming it as heart move 360, and what we are doing is we are going to change the width and the height. I'm defining how it is for 0%, 50%, 100%. I want it to be 35%, and when it is 25 and 75, I'm increasing the size to 45%. So this gives an animation for the beating heart rate, and this is where I'm calling the animation. So I'm calling WebKit animation, calling the heart move. I'm keeping the time interval as 1.5 seconds, and the loop is infinite. So it keeps on going until I remove the animation. And this is the styles that I'm applying for the footer and the info text. So now we have done defining the layout, and we have also defined the style sheet font, how we should appear. So let me I have already copied. I have all the code ready for me here, so I'm going to show how to create a new project in my IDE. This is my Tizen Studio, and I'm going to create a new project by going to File, New, Tizen Project. As I told you earlier, I'm going to choose a template, and when I click Next, I'm going to select the variable 2.3.2, and I'm going to select the web app. And when I click Next, I'm going to select tau basic template that is available, and I'm just going to change the name as heart rate monitor, and I'm going to click Finish. So we have created an app, created a new project here, and it automatically opens the config.xml file. And I'm going to the privileges tab, and I'm going to add the health info privilege, because that is necessary if you want to use the sensor data. And here you go. This is the health info privilege. I'm selecting it, and it is added. And if you can also add it in your source tab directly. So I have added the health info permission here. And now let's go to the index.html to define the layout. So I have already defined the code which I have explained you. It's the same exact code. I'm just going to copy paste it onto my index.html file, and I'm also going to copy the same code that I have explained for my style sheet. So this will save some time for me. So now our index.html and style sheet is ready. Let's go and see how to implement the actual functionality. So this is my JavaScript file. This is where we are going to implement the actual functionality of the app. We are going to use the heart rate sensor and everything. So we have two timers here. One is to change the pages from main page to the information page. That's because it takes a while to get, once you click the sensor, once you start the heart rate sensor, and if you don't get any information, I start a timer, and then if I don't get any information within the 10,000 milliseconds, then I'm going to change to the information page. And I have another timer to change my information page back to the main page, just in case if the user does not click the back button. So these are all the variables that I'm declaring. So I'm getting the UI components that I have declared in the index.html file. I'm going to get that and saving it in the variable called heart rate element. So this is where I'm going to this is the variable where I'm going to display the heart rate, and I'm getting the heart rate image, saving it in this variable. And we also need the two buttons. Info button is the button that is displayed on the second page, and the button that is displayed on the main page is HRM control button. And this is the UI component that will display the contextual text. So since we have two buttons, we have to implement the on-click listeners. So this is how we implement the on-click listeners for two buttons. So it's just the info back button dot add event listener. I'm defining the click button, and this is the callback. So once a user clicks, I will get this callback, and I'm implementing the on-click event even for the HRM control button. So once a user clicks the start button, it will go to the callback for the on HRM control button. So that the text displayed, initial text displayed on the HRM control button is start. So once the user clicks the start button, I'm starting the sensor. This is the function that I'm calling, and here is the start sensor function. What I'm doing here is I'm just making sure there is no timers. If there is timers, then I'm clearing the timers. As you can see, I'm just clearing the info timer and resetting all the variables that is related to the timer. And then so initially the measuring text, that is the contextual info, is hidden. So I'm removing the hide and I'm showing it, because it's after user clicks after I start the sensor, it's going to take a couple of seconds to get the data. So this is where I'm displaying the measuring text. And then I'm changing the label of the HRM control button to stop, because once the user clicks the start, the text will be changed to stop. And this is the actual code where I'm starting the heart rate sensor. So it is Tizen.humanActivityMonitor.start, and you have to provide the key called the HRM. So once you start that, these are the two callback methods available. It is heart rate data change, that is called every time the data changes, and if there is any error, you'll get a callback in on error callback. So let's go to the heart rate data change callback method. So this is the main actual functionality of this application. So once I call the heart rate, I'm getting the heart rate value and storing it in a variable called rate, and I'm checking what is the active page. I'm getting the value of the active page and storing it in the active page ID. And if the heart rate value is less than 1, that means that there is some error in the heart rate value. That is, if the watch is shaken, you get a -5, and if the value is invalid, then it will be negative values. So I'm checking if the value is less than 1. I'm stopping the animation, and then removing. I need to display the contextual text, so I'm removing the hide and adding the show of the measuring text, and checking if the active page is main page. Then I'm going to show the measuring info. So this is what the measuring info does. So it changes the main page. I'm using tau.changePage method to change from the main page to the information page, and then setting the timeout. So if we get the valid data from the sensor, then I'm hiding the measuring info, and then I'm adding the animation to the heart image, and removing the contextual text called measuring, and showing the actual value that I received from the sensor in the UI component called the heart rate element. So if this is the on error callback, I'm just displaying a console.log, and we have already talked about the show measuring info, and hide measuring info is very similar. So what I'm doing is when I call the hide measuring info, I'm changing from the information page to the main page. So this is the method that is used to change back to the main page. And when the user clicks the stop button, the stop sensor is called. So I'm removing the measuring info, clearing all the timers, and calling the actual API to stop the sensor. So this is the actual API to stop the sensor. It is Tizen.humanActivityMonitor.stop, and if you need to give the key HRM. So this will stop the sensor. So this is the info back button. When the user clicks the button in the second page, I'm just taking them back to the main page. So that's pretty much it. So let's see how it actually looks in the IDE. I already have the code available here. I'm going to save and put it in my JavaScript file. This is my JavaScript. I have pasted the exact code that we were talking about till now, and I also have the emulator open. So let's see if I run the code. Let's see how it actually looks. So it is launching the application. Okay, sorry, I forgot to add my image. So I have the image in the desktop. Here is my image. I'm going to copy this and paste it in my images folder. I'm going to create a folder called images. Create a new folder. I'm going to name it as images and finish. And save the file. And let me see if build automatically. So it builds every time I save it. Let's try running it on the emulator again. Still not saved.
I think that's the image.
Yeah. That project. I think it did not save properly. I'm saving it again. Oh, I did not paste the image. Now it is pasted. I'm saving it again. So it builds it for me. And run one more time. Oops. I don't know what the issue.
Yeah. So seems that we had a demo gods were not with us today. There's maybe a small error somewhere. Maybe we could. So the example app will be available in our resources. We'll provide you the URL, and you'll be able to access it and run it. Okay, now we have it running. Okay, perfect, beautiful.
Okay, so you can see the log messages. I've added log messages in every function just to see how it works. And when you click the stop button, we are calling stop sensor. And because the emulator cannot show any error in the sensor, I just added it to the rotary event. So if I change it, this is the information page. I'm just displaying some information to the user. When we click back, it's going to go back to the main page. So when I click start, the label is changed to stop, and you see the information, and stop will stop the sensor. So that's the basic, very simple web application.
All right, let's go to the last slide, the summary slide. The next steps. So here are the resources that which Kavita mentioned: SDK, the Tizen Studio, and the source code, and this presentation, and then the important links link to the seller office to register and create your seller account, and then create your commercial seller account so that you can make money with a paid app. And then, as mentioned earlier, Samsung Developer, we are here to help you to in the journey when you're creating an application for Samsung devices. So join Samsung Developer Program, and you have access to a ticket-based system, and that's the best way that we can support you. We will have additional webinars early 2017. So register to the January 10th session that will give you an overview of GearS3 and the kind of a live demonstration of the product. And as I mentioned earlier, this was our first webinar, so your feedback would be greatly appreciated. How can we do better next time? Additionally, I will be, as well as the North American product manager for GearS3, as well as the global product manager. We will be at CES, Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. So if you plan to be at CES, we can try to set up a informal casual meeting there. If you will be there, or somebody from your team, just send me an email, send an address to my email address that you can see on the screen, n.libeck@samsung.com. So I think now we have 9 minutes. We have time for some questions.
Yes.
So if I just read it from here and kind of you'll answer them.
I see a question from.
Okay, so the question is, where can we download the latest update to the TAU library from?
When you update the SDK, the TAU library is automatically updated. So it is when you create a new project, then it should have your updated TAU library.
Excellent. Then are Gear S2 and Gear S3 running the same OS version?
It used to be different. Before Tizen, Gear S2 was running on Tizen 2.3.1 and Gear S3 is 2.3.2. But recently, as I mentioned earlier, December 1st week, we rolled out an update to Gear S2, updating the platform level to 2.3.2. So once if the user have updated the device, then all Gear S2 should be in 2.3.2 as well.
Any time frame for supporting variables in Visual Studio tools for Tizen?
No, nothing. We don't have any information on that. We don't have any plans as far as I know.
Great. Then there was a question about how did the emulator get the sensor data?
Yeah, so the emulator, yes, it mocks up some sensor data, heart rate sensor data, so it's easy for the developers to try out to test their application.
And then I can see that there's a question from Dan that you are currently developing an app for Gear S2, and it seems that you have an issue with WebSockets. I think this would be a best if you can submit a ticket through the Samsung Developer Portal, and we will be happy to look at the issue that you are facing. And then there's a question from Armin about audio streaming capability. I think that's it's also a question that we can happy to help you through the ticket-based system, and I would recommend to check out the NPR1 streaming application that is already in the store.
Tizen 3.0 I think will be available sometime at the end of this year. I'm not exactly sure about the time, but it is in the pipeline, and we are waiting for the update.
Do we have any other questions from the audience? All right. Well, I hope you find this webinar useful, and then please remember to answer the survey. That's how we can make it better next time. And register to Samsung Developer Program is the best way to contact us, provide us feedback, or us to support you during the journey of creating your content. This webinar will be made publicly available, and thank you for joining the webinar.
Thank you.